of great people here tonight. I'm very thankful to get to do this sort of thing in my hometown of Indianapolis. I was born in New Hampshire, but I moved here in '87. There was a crazy drought that year, an ice storm, and some other things have happened since then. But Indianapolis is still seems to be doing more things than it was when I had my formative years here. Good times. I'm going to read my essay about the benefit of cry lists and some other poems and sort of riffs that don't have anything to do with crying, but they are full of passion. So this is a little christening piece, an introductory piece. Mission statements for cry list. Seismic convulsions are manifest in our destiny to occupy space. Whether they extend to the atmospheres beneath past and present ottomans, to a cavernous breath chill arrested, or toward the seemingly infinite reaches of a momentary delirium, it is always our breastplates prompting the quakes. Throbbing desire populates this evanescent domain, for ours is a different nation. We inhabit contradictions and lack borders, for even a guild of metaphor hoarders possesses a rod for lording. We've hoisted our emblems, the glue herald cries for the beyond. Where they have only petrified skill, we harbor an emerging archaeology, to presiding crew, bubbling perpetuity. Every partial night paralysis yields a blanket of condensing exhaust. Ours, our exchange flowers, the warmth before the solar storm. We are in our meter, and have never doubted that existing obstacles to our illumination would yield anything but trenchant coronas. Diapers for Blue Lives Matter. Diapers for Blue Lives Matter. Blue is the color of the test liquid. Blue is the color of the test liquid. A thin blue line is all that protects us from incontinence. Diapers for Blue Lives Matter. It's time to pay the debts. Gaze at yourself in the mirror. Fall into my black eyes. There, I have no reflection. A sensorium of sports memorabilia. Athletic trivia, Appalachian Trail become. Fog to catch with your hands. Present from the one you owe. So this is why I feel it's of value to compile essential crying phenomena. Given that I spent the majority of my childhood and tween years as a person who cries, I appreciate this opportunity to come to terms with and provide a critical reflection of moments in my crying career. Crying has been a major part of my experience on this planet. What used to be thought of as merely a childhood activity is now embraced by adults, young and old, all over the United States. Crying is the voice of the immature, the underdeveloped who has not embraced the formation of tones into words into ideas. Crying is smoldering ecstasy, with tears and orgasms so similar. Crying was for me a way of expressing how hurt my heart felt in as direct a route to those around me as possible. When I was in the crying bush leagues or Little League Baseball, the last thing I wanted to do was in front of my peers start bawling over some perceived injustice or revelation of my imperfect nature. I cried when my mother was an hour late picking me up from school, after all the buses had left and I was alone. I cried when I struck out in baseball. I cried when someone stole my Michael Jordan watch. I cried when the bigger middle schoolers threw me in the shower and I hid my head. No matter how many times I wished that I could prevent myself from crying, I never bothered to make a physical effort to stop crying. At school, I would simply put my head down if the opportunity presented itself and try to hide it. I just wished that I could have had the opportunity to be left alone and not trigger more attention into my crying. In high school, Many things changed, and I didn't feel the need to cry about being picked on or any of these things. I didn't stop having deep feelings or emotions. At some point, I decided that I had no shame about crying, and coincidentally stopped crying about minor things. I embraced being imperfect and touched the ground. The cry list is interesting because it provides the reader with a listicle mixtape type experience to see how other people cry about phenomena. Try this on for cries, perhaps. I found it more appropriate to articulate experiences from my past in which I sobbed and heaved tears at my heaviest, when I thought I might pass out from crying. It's hard for me to think of active cry triggers like guaranteed allergic reactions. Not saying that they don't exist, but aside from filled representations of animals being hurt, I can't think of many present tense standards that actively make me cry. Crying is good and exhilarating and exhausting and awful and everything. I cried when I learned about the active manifestation of gender-neutral communalism practiced by the Kurds of the PKK. I cried watching new seasons of Queer Eye, and I cried putting this together. I saw the Steven Spielberg movie E.T. in the theater when I was 2 or 4. Many opportunities to cry in this movie. The one that continues to affect me today is the sound and image of E.T. being defibrillated when he is in extraterrestrial cardiac arrest. E.T.'s little body jumps as 200 joules of electricity is pumped through it, and is sonically punctuated by something that sounds both electromechanical and a wet, soggy plop. The very next scene is Drew Barrymore's broken face, subconsciously prompting millions of kids to start crying like their very own little hearts are being ripped out of them. When the movie was finally released on home VHS with a green hinge flap, I watched it again at the mature age of 8 only for the waterworks to start at that sound. When I compiled this list, I watched it again, and it still hurts. In my early 20s, I sacrificed my creative community in St. Louis for more personal stability by moving back in with my parents in central Indiana. I needed a reset from a toxic living situation in my own creation. I would still make weekend trips back to St. Louis to hang with friends, but I was always worried that my standing among these young guns was fading. After a particularly intoxicated and emotional weekend in the Louvre, I drove home. Dehydrated Sunday, somewhere before I began, I played Neil Young's Harvest Moon and ugly cried back to Indy. I have never been more alone. And Neil Young is a master of putting into song the experience of being on the verge of tears. See the sky about to rain. It's the last one from my cry list. The last few years have been spent working as an ICU nurse in St. Louis. The challenging part of my work is taking care of people who are waiting for organ transplants. We often go through a back and forth of getting them worked up and listed for organs, only to have something else happen that invalidates their placement on the list. I've had patients listed, unlisted, relisted, and died many times, making me very cynical about the possibility of patients getting organs. I had a patient who needed a liver because he had a genetic condition in which his body wasn't able to metabolize copper. The copper accumulated in his liver, causing cirrhosis and the whole symptoms that come with liver failure. This guy was the nicest guy imaginable. He never complained or felt upset about his disease, and remained very optimistic about getting a liver. I watched him go up and down in the ICU for about a month, getting listed and delisted because he needed to be on blood pressure support for a while. He got relisted, but then because his poor liver complicated his body's fluid volume, he went into cardiogenic tamponade, required a drain of the fluid around his heart. Yet he still came back ready to fight, and he was determined to get his liver. So many days went by when the transplant doctors came in and said, "No news yet, we'll continue the therapies we've been doing until we get some news." This guy didn't flinch, always positive and optimistic. I was reminiscing about this guy with my coworkers recently, and I didn't realize that the day he died, he had just been informed that a liver had been procured. His 12-year-old son and brother had just left 45 minutes previously to go back to their hometown when his nurse started shouting from his room that she needed immediate help. I got in the room and saw dark, chunky blood was coming from his nose, and his eyes were rolled back in his head. We immediately started CPR and tried to resuscitate him for an hour. Everyone was crying during compressions. I cried when I wrote this because it just reinforces how unfair everything is. When they stopped the resuscitative effort, I just bawled and moaned. I felt pain in my chest that I had never before experienced, and there was a phenomenon, you might have heard of it, called broken heart syndrome. Well, there's actually a real-world manifestation of that. It's called Takotsubo's cardiomyopathy, or stress-induced cardiomyopathy. So if you experience something very emotionally stressful or demanding, or it could just be like you're having a seizure, but it basically causes your heart to go into failure. So your heart has some ability of like squeezing out blood that's considered normal, and then you lose that ability to like function. So I was like so upset, and I was having these like chest pains. Like I actually did a electrocardiogram at the hospital, just like my heart, because I had never felt so sad about a patient before. Yeah, I didn't have any cardiac problems, so it's fortunate, but there's a lot of medical futility where we try to respect people's wishes for life, but I don't think people are always good about articulating the realities of like death, and maybe being in control of your death is like something that's more healthy. Just have a couple other things I want to read. You and I addressed the deck growing apart. You know, you can salvage the conversation with a handful of ash. Empty brothers of the wood, all up in knots. I fall through the rot. Van Halen has always made me think of surfing. On the first album, the reverb on David Lee Roth's vocal sounds like he's singing inside the curl of a giant wave. Various members' penchant for bright neon clothes also contributes to this understanding. To realize something is to activate its reality. Diarrhea marked this page at this point in the stream. Remember it for posterity. And I'm asthmatic in our house because I want you to notice me. I do love the cats with all my heart, but it's like I'm coming on too strong to life, without a respirator plugged. Power our stainless revolts. Quarantined lung megalomania or sacks of aphids turning into a pool of green sauce butter. I'm scared of you. Metal androids in my mouth. You leave me inside a deflated beach ball. Hot plastic. The sounds that basketballs make when they inflate. The sounds that basketballs make when they lie. Neglected in asphalt, which sounds like basketballs saying goodbye. You are the fisher, you are the fisher, you are the fisherman. You are the fisherman, you are the swisher. You are the sweet fisher, revealing the aperture, blowing you over the ocean. You are the father, you are a bottle. You are the child, you are the other man. If I could, I would loosen the knots in your net, lower your massage to the legacy of the ocean. I mark coordinates in the void as the globe continues to spin. You and I aren't warmed by the sun, we are warmed by the wind.